5 lights are on. And the race gets underway. It's not a great start from Freddie Rasmussen. Berliak in third seemed to get the best getaway, and here comes Yuyovski in the black and white Venturi, the championship leader on the outside, coming into this treacherous first chicane, and Yuyovski takes the lead, and Berliak gets very sideways in the BMW and spins back across the pack, wipes a few cars out. That'll help his teammate a little. Siggy now is up into 9th position, but Erhan Yuyovski has taken the lead at the start, got a better launch than Freddie Rasmussen. Wisniewski is up into 3rd place there in the DS Techeetah. We're on board here with Kevin Siggy, who's in 10th place as he tries to battle his way up the order, and just like in real life, there's quite a lot of fights in the mid-pack, and there he goes, immediately aggressive, but the door's going to get closed, and there's contact with Manuel Biancalila. He gets through, but he knows he's got to be aggressive if he wants any chance in this championship.
Yeah, it's a fine line though, isn't it, also, because he doesn't want to be slammed into those walls and pick up any damage, because then he's got to play with that for the rest of the race too.
24 minutes left on the clock. There's Erhan Yuyovski in the lead. This is a replay on board with Marius Golombek in the middle of the pack. So Berliak sort of got out of shape and then span across and wiped out Golombek. I think Graham Carroll was involved in that action as well, and maybe lost a couple of, well, he's managed to hold on to 7th place if that was Carroll getting very, very sideways. But Yuyovski it is who leads the way in the black and white Venturi car. He's the championship leader. He leads Freddie Rasmussen by 16 points. But Rasmussen is behind in the white and red Dragon Penske Autosport car as they come across the line and down to this first chicane again. And I think these two are going to disappear up the road somewhat, I would have thought, and we'll see whether Wisniewski can hold on to 3rd place as he launches in. That's more rallying, isn't it? That's more your style.
Yeah, definitely. I can appreciate a bit of talent like that. That's not bad.
23 minutes left on the clock, and here comes Yuyovski then, sweeping through this sequence of corners. Here's Graham Carroll, so he's in 7th place. He's up ahead of Jan van der Heijden. Van der Heijden running in 8th place, which would be his best result of the season so far. Hasn't been in the points since his 10th in New York City in the opening race, but there you can see Graham Carroll's concentration. That's one of the things with esports, is you get to see the drivers' faces while they are competing, and some of them are a picture. Graham Carroll there, look, I like the guy, but that's quite a concentration face. I guess you don't know yours.
Oh, I do. I always end up with really dry lips, so I think I must just churn them out of nerves when I'm competing, and the onboard cameras is not a very attractive look, I don't think.
Noted. 22 minutes left on the clock. Here's Lawrence Herzing now. Herzing up into 5th place. That's a really good start from Herzing, because it was his best qualifying performance of the season so far. It's the first time he's qualified inside the top 10, and as I've mentioned earlier, his last race, an 8th place finish, was his first points. So there he is in the Rocket Venturi, running in 5th place. He's got Jarno Opmeer, the reigning F1 esports champion, right behind him. So he's doing a very good job in these early stages, is Lawrence Herzing, as we're back with Carroll, who in fact himself is trying to put a bit of pressure on Opmeer. Gets so loose coming through that chicane. It's very, very stressful to watch them go through. Yuyovski's lead 0.8 of a second at the moment, but those top two really are pulling away now. 2 seconds clear of Wisniewski in 3rd.
Yeah, exactly, and I thought that would just keep increasing now throughout the race. Really strong starts, kind of a league of their own at the minute.
On board again with Herzing. He's up behind Martin Stefanko, who has had a 5th place finish so far this season as Stefanko in Berlin in round 3. So if he's able to hold on to the 4th place finish, then obviously that'll be his best result of the season. As we ride with Herzing, who's closing down on Stefanko. Of course, we've got energy management here. On the left-hand side, you can see Yuyovski and Rasmussen have set off at quite a pace. They've got 85% of energy remaining. Wisniewski's on 84, and some of the others, sort of the Opmeer, Carroll, van der Heijden's, were on 87 when we first came over to them, or 86, so they might have a little bit more energy than Yuyovski and Rasmussen at the moment. Wisniewski looks to have a little less than those drivers, but that's the kind of thing that will just build over the course of the race as we look at Jan van der Heijden on the back of Graham Carroll. Yuyovski sets the fastest lap, a 1:25.773 now to move a second clear. There is Jan van der Heijden in the Nissan Edam's car, in Oliver Rowland's car, down in the bottom left, with 20 minutes left on the clock. Yuyovski leading, 1.2 seconds clear of Freddie Rasmussen. Wisniewski 3rd, Stefanko 4th, and Herzing in 5th. And this wheel-to-wheel fighting, Katie, is that going to be something you're going to have to get used to a little bit. Have you done much sort of on-track racing with other cars before?
Yeah, definitely. I think I'm normally a bit selfish. I get the road to myself. So sharing, I'm not sure how I'm going to feel about that, to be honest with you. Yeah, but it's all about the traffic, isn't it, at the end of the day, and not getting stuck in that. And I'm sure with Extreme E, we're going to have lots of dust and things like that to think about as well. So, yeah, but I don't think we'll have the track limits in this sense. We're not going to have any walls like that. I think it's going to be a bit more of choose your line and go for it.
Yeah, it's going to be really, really interesting when that gets underway in a couple of weeks' time. Make sure you keep it across Extreme E and on the socials when that gets underway. Here's Olli Pakala in the Mahindra, currently running in 18th place. He's got Risto Capit behind him. So Risto Capit in the Neo 333 car, one of the first drivers to go into attack mode, and as a result he's looking a little bit racy. Now Capit is a very, very experienced driver, the Estonian. We're on board with him here, and he started racing online in 2009 on R Factor 1. He's won the Sim Formula Europe Championship in 2020, and he finished third in the GTE class in Le Mans last year. So, and he's performed better than this, quite frankly, in the course of the season so far. So a real struggle in qualifying for Risto Capit, and as a result he's down in 19th position. Pakala's got ahead of Pev in all of that. Now Jajovski has taken his first attack mode then, so Jajovski activates his first attack mode and managed to keep ahead of Freddie Rasmussen, so he built up enough of an advantage, and that's where the tactics start to come into play. And in a Formula E team, you have so many people telling you what to do, when to take attack mode. It's down to the driver a little bit, but it's so much, you know, managed by the team, whereas here it's you're all by yourself, you're all alone relatively. And I guess again maybe that's a new experience for you coming up.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, to be honest with you, I'm normally quite alone anyway, other than having the co-driver. We don't really have engineers or any comms like that during the race, but we have got a power boost for the biggest jump off the start line, so that's going to be quite a dramatic start, I would imagine.
Wow, okay, that's going to be, wow.
Our version of the attack mode, so I think it's an extra 50 kilowatts we're given.
Wow, that's going to be quite something, isn't it?
I think some of these drivers were practicing it over the curbs a minute ago as well.
Yeah, exactly. So Jajovski across the line sets the fastest lap of the race in attack mode at the moment. Stefanko now is right on the back of Herzing. So Herzing has got ahead of Stefanko at some point during all of this, because it was the Jaguar driver ahead of the Venturi. Now it is the other way around, and Stefanko is under pressure from Jarno Opmeer behind in the silver Mercedes as they swing through the long left-hander at turn 4 and through the right at 5. And Jajovski's attack mode ends, and he's 1.1 seconds clear at the end of his first attack mode from Freddie Rasmussen in second place. Rasmussen's got 1.2 seconds to Wisniewski behind, so he's got the gap if he wants to activate his attack mode and still come out in front of Wisniewski, I would have thought. It's two 90-second bursts that they get for, well, 90 seconds, and go from 200 kilowatts of power up to 235. As we see Pev then, again, down in the bottom left, relentlessly charging down on the back of Olli Pakala, who is up behind Artur Leyuk in the gold and black DS Techeetah that's at the front of this queue. But we're looking at the Bulgarian in the bottom left from Sofia, who hasn't had the series he would have wanted. His best result is 17th in the first race in New York and the last race in Diriyah. He's 18th here, and Rasmussen does activate his attack mode then. Meanwhile, there's the look from Olli Pakala up the inside, and he gets through on Artur Leyuk. Meanwhile, Pev activates his attack mode, swings through the long right-hander, loses a couple of places. I think he comes out behind Tamer Benchik there. Indeed he does, down in 20th place, as we're back with Pakala, who's now ahead of Leyuk behind. Rasmussen, as I say, is in his first attack mode, as is Nikodem Wisniewski. And what is the progress of Kevin Siggy in all of this? He's into 9th place, so he's right behind Jarno Opmeer, but not making a huge amount of progress. And it must be so frustrating for him to be starting so far down. And there he is in the middle of the pack, qualifying so crucial here, and you can see the frustration on his face.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, especially if he's kind of used to being run at the front of the pack and not having this much traffic to play with. You really don't get the clean line that you want, the clean drive. If you want to accelerate, there's people in the way. So it's a really tough one, and it kind of gets you stuck in the middle ground, I think, for quite a lot of the race.
Yeah, he's coming through the long right-hander there. You can see him working the wheel down at the bottom. There's a little look up in front from Otmir trying to attack Jan van der Heijden, I think, as they're going to go side by side into the final corner. The Mercedes has the inside line, and Otmir, I think, is going to make that move stick. They're still side by side there, and through goes Otmir. There's also an attack behind. That is going to be Bianca Lila getting ahead of Kuba Brzezinski as a load of drivers activate their attack mode at the final corner now. Jujovski actually has activated his second attack mode. Rasmussen is still in his first, but Jujovski now is into his second. I think that's Lawrence Herzing's first attack mode. So it's very busy out there with the varying strategies, and Otmir now is going past Graham Carroll up into 5th position. So this is the view from Lawrence Herzing, who's in 4th, back to the silver Mercedes of Graham Carroll, back to, sorry, the silver Mercedes of Jarno Otmir, who's now in front of the purple Envision Virgin racing car of Graham Carroll, and Stefanko's in 7th place. It's all very busy with these varying strategies.
Yeah, exactly. Jujovski just wants to stay out front, doesn't he? I saw it getting quite close as Rasmussen was coming up behind him on his lap with the attack mode. So I think he's played that to try and keep the clean line at the front and not get stuck behind.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a yellow flag out there in sector 2, so someone has had it. I fear it might have been Tamea Benchik, because she's just dropped a position there. There is Hanya Jujovski, the North Macedonian, the winner of the first 2 races of the season, but then a 4th and 2nd in Berlin and Diriyah have not been ideal, but this would extend his championship lead back up to 23 points. Martin Stefanko and Graham Carroll are going side by side into the final corner. Carroll goes in and activates his attack mode as he does so then. So he was about to get past, and then a few more, including Kevin Siggy, go through attack mode further back. Siggy then still in 10th spot. Jujovski has 20 seconds left on his attack mode, and there is Martin Stefanko ahead of Jarno Otmir then into the chicane. So Stefanko using the extra power that he has to get ahead of Jarno Otmir, and Otmir drops down into 6th place, but it's still Lawrence Herzing who's holding on to 7th spot fairly well, actually. And the leaders, as we sort of were thinking earlier, haven't disappeared up the road as much as I thought they might.
Yeah, exactly, especially in the last few laps, even though they'd initiated their attack mode. It hasn't really pulled them away from the pack that much. The others are on full charge behind, aren't they, trying to keep up with it, and perhaps with a bit more adrenaline running through their blood as well. If they're having that close racing at the back, the leaders might be relaxing into their positions a little bit. Yeah,
well, that's also very true, is that there's no need to build up a big lead and use energy that you don't need to. Here comes Graham Carroll on the attack, goes for the switchback through the sort of tramline section of the circuit, and there's a bit of contact with Jan van der Heijden. Van der Heijden's in the Nissan on the left. Carroll's now going to be on the outside for this long left-hander. Van der Heijden keeps it to the inside, but Carroll, because he's in attack mode, gets the move done. A deep exhale from the former Walter Hayes Trophy winner, and he is now up into 7th position ahead of Jan van der Heijden. Siggy behind has just got up into 9th place ahead of Kuba Brzezinski in the Jaguar, but that's still only 2 points as far as the championship is concerned. So the gap to Siggy would go from 12 up to about 35 points. So there's still 56 on the board, but he would need some really misfortune to come for Jujovski and Rasmussen in the final round. A result like this for Siggy could put him out of the title running realistically. Risto Capit's got a penalty meanwhile. He is down in 18th position. Presumably that's for track limits, because they're being monitored fairly strictly, especially at the chicanes here at the Electric Docks, if you're wondering. Electric Docks, it's the Leicester Special if you want to download it on R Factor 2. It's available in the Steam store. So there is Capit with his penalty down in 18th position. But Jujovski and Rasmussen, we saw them fighting in Hong Kong. And Rasmussen, oh, and into the wall. Capit's gone into the back of one of the Mahindras there. That must have been Olli Pakala. And Peo Pev in the Dragon Penske Autosport car got caught up in that as well. So big hit for Olli Pakala, who drops down into 23rd position. Not quite sure what was going on there with Risto Capit. He's up into 19th spot now, but he's still got to serve his penalty. Here's a look at the replay. So, oh, those two span in front of him. So Pev and Pakala span in front of Capit. Capit came around the corner, no way he could go.
Yeah, that was unlucky to be caught up in the middle of that. I quite like the entry from the beginning though. The first slide round there, if he'd have caught that would have been quite a hero move.
10 minutes to go. Yayovski. As I was about to say, he was leading, and there is Capit serving his drive-through penalty for exceeding track limits. Yayovski, I'll try one more time, was leading the race in Hong Kong. Rasmussen looked to be quite far behind him, but was really saving energy and started to attack in the closing laps. So that is a very, very fascinating situation that could unfold over the next 10 minutes or so. But it doesn't look that way, does it? Because the gap's now up to 1.6 seconds. This is really classy stuff from Yayovski, and then everybody else is just in a brawl for the remaining positions. It's so intense out there.
Yeah, it is. I wonder what his energy levels are like as well for Yayovski. If he's just thinking, okay, I need to conserve this, or whether he is just comfortable in the lead at the front.
We'll have a look in a couple of moments, I'm sure. Here is Siggy, 9th place for him then. The BMW I Andretti Motorsport driver, the 27-year-old, 22-year-old. I committed to 27 and I knew it was wrong. 22-year-old who has been very impressive. Race at Home Challenge winner, second in the R-Factor 2 GT Pro Championship last year to Yayovski. Also a McLaren Shadow Project winner, and also an Andretti Autosport driver. Peo Perbanoli Pakula, that accident that we saw between them that Risto Capit then piled into, that incident is under investigation, but they're both down in 19th for Peb and 21st for Pakula, so I don't think it'll make too much difference to the outcome of the race. Yayovski's lead is now 2 seconds, and Wisniewski is only 2 or 3 tenths behind Freddie Rasmussen. The fight for second place is very close, and that could have huge championship implications as well. There you can see Yayovski, as ever, looking fairly calm and chilled at the wheel as he swings the car through that sequence of corners, but there's Wisniewski not too far away from Freddie Rasmussen. Okay, he's not right up behind him, and actually Rasmussen has extended the gap a little bit, but he's not breaking away as much as he would have wanted. 8 minutes left on the clock. There's a little bit of defensive work from Lawrence Herzing, trying to defend from Martin Stefanko. There you can see Nikodem Wisniewski, the Polish racer, for the DS Techeetah team. Second attack mode for Jan van der Heijden. So van der Heijden in 9th place activates his second attack mode. We continue to watch Wisniewski, the 26-year-old Pole who won the Le Mans virtual 24 hours race in the LMP2 class with Kuba Brzezinski, also won the 2019 12 hours of Sebring. He's racing in Jean-Eric Verne's car. Took a lot of speed through there, didn't he? Really closed into the back of the car in front. And they're all starting to queue up now. There's just some corners where that gap between second and third really comes down quite dramatically. Like here, it's sort of the closest it is anywhere else.
Yeah, I think this is going to heat up as well, coming into the final sort of 5 minutes of this race. You can see him on 31% now across the board.
Yes, Stefanko has a little bit more usable energy, as does Jarno Opmeer. Yayovski, at the moment, looks like he has a little less, but of course he's going to have less because he's further up the road than everybody else, so he's closer to the finish line. So it will sort of go down in that way. Stefanko is using it quite well as well. Katie, when we have the Formula E drivers in, they spend a lot of time on simulators, not quite like this, of course, as Siggy loses out to Jan van der Heijden and activates his second attack mode. But is that a thing that sort of exists in rallying and rallycross and that, or is it not really applicable?
No, not really, just because it's, you know, what we need to train for is the changing surfaces and that feeling and the real life kind of spontaneous weather and everything like that, that kind of becomes very difficult to predict. It's dangerous actually for us to try and, you know, practice one stage over and over and over on a WRC game, for example, and then get there and it not be the same. So yeah, I mean, it's changing all the time, and it hasn't really filtered through in a realistic way yet to the rally space in terms of training.
A lot of fun though.
I had to go on one of these, and I was blown away because it's just completely different, isn't it? Yeah. I was like literally bouncing from wall to wall to wall on my first go. It was quite embarrassing. I'm not sure it looked like I even have a driving license, to be honest with you.
5.5 minutes left on the clock. On board with Jan van der Heijden. running in 7th position now, behind Martin Stefanko and Jarno Opmeer, but Van der Heijden might be under pressure before too long because Graham Carroll is going to be right behind him, so keep your eyes peeled for a virgin. There it is, actually. Graham Carroll up the inside, coming through the right-hander in attack mode with the extra power, gets ahead of Jan van der Heijden, who drops down to 8th place. Can Carroll close in any more than that? 5 minutes to go. Rasmussen is now, well, I was going to say he was closing in a little bit, but then the gap extended. Here comes Kevin Siggy to the outside, and that's why the gap extended, because Freddie Rasmussen used his second attack mode now then. So the top two have both used their second attack mode. We're on board with Kevin Siggy as he looks at Stefanko in the Jaguar, losing out to Graham Carroll. Lawrence Herzing, oh, having a big twitch in the Venturi behind as they came through that first chicane. Herzing is in 5th position in that Venturi, and here comes Kevin Siggy to the outside, hits the wall, I think, as he tried to get around the Jaguar there. Couldn't quite make it stick. That might have damaged his car a little bit, because even if we don't visibly see the damage, it can affect the suspension. Herzing in 5th position. Olli Pakala has been given a penalty, again presumably for track limits, but 4 minutes to go. Rasmussen is 2.8 seconds back from Erhan Jajovski. He's in attack mode, and it's now or never really if he wants to take the win.
Yeah, exactly. I feel sorry for Siggy as well, watching him. He looked so frustrated in the corner there. I think he was just trying that move. He was in the last seconds of his attack mode, and he just tried to nip Stefanko, but it's a tough call, isn't it? It's a tough call when you're drawn middle of the pack. There's not that much you can do, because all of these racers are so talented, aren't they? It's not like just the first few are talented. It's across the board. They are so fast and put so many hours into training to do this.
Yeah, that's the problem, is there's not a huge amount of difference between them. As you say, we see it in how close qualifying is. Jarno Opmeer activates his second attack mode. He comes out behind Graham Carroll. Siggy is behind them in 7th position. Rasmussen has dropped to 3.3 seconds back from Jajovski, so there must have been a mistake, I think, for Freddie Rasmussen, because he's dropped a long way back from the leader, despite having more power at the moment. I think Yachi Zhang's just had a moment, Jiayu Zhang's had a moment and dropped to 23rd position. Opmeer, meanwhile, is getting passed by Graham Carroll. Carroll is now up into 5th place. Rasmussen's attack mode ends now, and he remains in 2nd position, 3.5 seconds away. There is Opmeer up behind Graham Carroll as they come through the right-hander and then into the second chicane, the less dramatic of the two chicanes. As we come down now towards the final sequence of corners, 2 minutes and 20 seconds to go, and Jajovski coming through the middle sector on his lap now, so I think he's about to start the penultimate lap. It's going to be fairly close, actually, but keep an eye on that one. Carroll right up behind him is Jarno Opmeer in the Mercedes. He's in attack mode, not for too much longer, so he needs to take advantage of it as soon as possible. Goes to the outside, gets it done on the brakes, very nicely done. 3 wide behind. Who's that going absolutely bananas? I think it's Martin Stefanko going up the inside of 2 cars into the final corner. Van der Heijden in the Nissan on the right-hand side gets the switchback. Kevin Siggy in the white and blue BMW I Andretti is behind, trying to take advantage of that. But I think Stefanko has held on to that place. Absolute dive bomb into that final corner.
That was carnage. That's a classic case of end of race, just giving it a go, isn't it?
Exactly. Look at that. He wasn't even... It was almost like he was trying to defend from the Audi. Then suddenly he found himself up the inside of the 2 cars in front. Remarkable stuff from Stefanko. Jajovski's come across the line, and I think we're going to have 2 more laps in this race. He's on his penultimate lap of the race now, Erhan Jajovski, as Opmeer then in 5th position behind Lawrence Herzing. Opmeer, his best result of the season so far is a 6th place in the first race in New York City. So for Wisniewski, Herzing and Opmeer, this would all be their best results of the season, which would be very impressive. Opmeer, as I said earlier on, the reigning F1 esports champion, only recently moved to R-Factor 2. And we're on board with Manuel Biancalillo, who's going to try and get past Kevin Siggy. So he started in 11th place, Siggy, and he's about to drop down to 10th position. He's still there on the inside. Biancalillo trying to turn into the final corner. And I think he'll get that move done. Yes, he will. So Siggy back down to 10th, and he might even lose out to Kuba Brzezinski in the Jaguar, who's in attack mode, and Siggy drops down to 11th place. 0 points from today's race would be a real disaster for Kevin Siggy, and it's looking like it's going that way. He's absolutely furious. Just look at him talking to his engineers on the Discord, presumably, and yeah, not happy at all.
No, you can see him kind of shake his hand as well. It's one of disbelief, I can imagine. Coming into this with good hopes for the championship, and then yeah, it's not the result that he wanted, is it really? Not
at all. So,
I'm wondering if he had some kind of damage though. We saw him hit earlier a bit lighter, and as you say, you know, they were kind of passing him quite quickly at the end there. I know one was in attack mode, but still at the same time there might be something there.
Yeah, I think that's a very real possibility actually, because we saw so much carnage in the opening laps. But this man has avoided the carnage in the opening laps. He's avoided the carnage in the whole of the race. He took the lead off the line, got a much better start than Freddie Rasmussen, who's behind Wisniewski. Nikodem Wisniewski's got up into 2nd place. So when has that happened? The DS Techeetah driver has got ahead of Freddie Rasmussen, and that is going to be big, big news for the championship, because Erhan Yayovski, the winner of the first 2 races, is going to win round 5 at Electric Docks and perhaps put one hand on the Formula E Accelerate title. It's carnage out of the final corner. Graham Carroll's going incredibly slowly. Lucas Muller's in the wall with one of the Mercedes. Wisniewski finishes in 2nd place then. Freddie Rasmussen 3rd. Herzing in 4th place. Jarno Okmeer 5th. Best results of the season for them. Stefanko 6th. Best result of the season for Von der Heide as well. Bianca Lila, Brzezinski and Siggy, the rest of the top 10. But the win for Erhan Yayovski. And that is a really remarkable performance, because that means that his lead at the top of the championship, I think he's going to be on 111 points, and then 85 points for Freddie Rasmussen. And look at the disappointment and the frustration on the face of Kevin Siggy.
Well, let's take a look at the results then after round 5 of Formula E Accelerate. The victory going the way of Erhan Yayovski after 18 laps of racing, 3.7 seconds clear of Nikodem Wisniewski in 2nd. Freddie Rasmussen 3rd for the Dragon Penske Autosport team. Herzing in 4th, Okmeer 5th, but then down in 10th position, Kevin Siggy. Managed to finish ahead of Bono, who he's managed to pick up 1 point, but that'll be slim consolation for him. Mark Gassner in 12th position, then Graham Carroll dropped back to 13th in the end after running so well earlier on, and then Pave down in 18th spot. As far as the championship is concerned, then it is 111 points to Erhan Yayovski. Freddie Rasmussen in 2nd on 85, so that means he is, what, 26 points adrift of Erhan Yayovski, if my mental maths is right. But my mental maths is the reason I'm a commentator, because I failed my maths A-level, so that probably wouldn't be worth relying on. Kevin Siggy 3rd now, quite a long way adrift, but still 56 points available for the final race of the championship. And as far as the teams are concerned, that's a big hit for BMW I Andretti Motorsport. They've lost the lead of the standings because Rocket Venturi Racing, with that win for Erhan Yayovski and the struggles for both Peter Berliak and Kevin Siggy, means that they're down to 2nd place. Dragon are there in 3rd, 4th for Mercedes-Benz EQ.